with plus 84 net points are one Cincinnati Bengals. Again, that letter means that they were playoff bound, a little higher up in the playoff rankings, however, like clinching a spot, for example. Brain Trust includes General Manager Duke Tobin, who is listed as the Director of Player Personnel. They have no GM actually listed. Head Coach Zach Taylor, Offensive Coordinator Brian Callahan, Defensive Coordinator Lou Anarumo, and Special Teams Coordinator Darren Simmons. Quarterback one, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Man, can't say too much about Joe Burrow. Can't say enough about Joe Burrow. A long-suffering team like the Cincinnati Bengals finally got their act together, made some good choices in the draft, got a decent head coach, got rid of a couple of really bad head coaches, and got themselves back up to their winning ways. I'm proud of the Cincinnati Bengals, and like I said, I can't say enough about Joe Burrow. That being said, this team is tasked, especially Duke Tobin, is tasked with making sure that they build this team around Joe Burrow, especially offensive line-wise. I think if their offensive line was a little bit better, they would have possibly won that Super Bowl game. But their offensive line was decimated by, I don't even want to give that one guy all the credit, although he was super. The Rams' defensive line pretty much took them apart piece by piece in the second half of the Super Bowl. So regardless, something's got to be done about that. And Duke Tobin is the man for the job. He is the director of player personnel. He does not carry the title of general manager, but he pretty much has all the general manager responsibilities. Here's another Bloodlines guy. His brother, Vince Tobin, was a former defensive coordinator and head coach for a couple of different NFL teams. Duke Tobin has held the general manager title briefly for the Bears and the Colts, or he held it briefly for the Bears and the Colts before he joined the Bengals in 1999. When he was GM of the Colts, this is just a little note for his prospects. He was GM of the Colts. He's the guy that drafted Marshall Faulk and Marvin Harrison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's got that on his resume. I like that. Head coach is Zach Taylor, young guy. Began his professional coaching career as an offensive assistant and quarterback coach with the Dolphins in 2012. He was an offensive coordinator for the Dolphins in 2015 and offensive coordinator for the Bengals in 2016. Then he was an offensive assistant quarterback coach for the Rams in 2017 before he came back to the Bengals and got hired as the head coach in 2019. The offensive coordinator is Brian Callahan. He began his coaching career in 2010 as the offensive assistant with the Broncos. He was the quarterback coach for the Lions and the Raiders before becoming the offensive coordinator for the Bengals in 2019. Young staff, but they've been around a little bit. Defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, NFL coaching career began in 2012 as DB coach with the Dolphins. He was also the DB coach for the Giants in 2018 before becoming the DC of the Bengals in 2019 and has been there ever since.
All right. All right there. And Darren Simmons coming in as the special teams coordinator. The roster resets for the Cincinnati Bengals. Some signings and some losses.
Yes. And as I said, their number one priority should be protecting Joe Burrow, and looks like they're on their way to doing that. In their big signings, they picked up Lael Collins, offensive tackle for the offensive and run game-minded Dallas Cowboys. They now have Lael Collins. They also got a nice offensive guard from the Buccaneers, Alex Kappa, a guy that's been protecting Tom Brady for the last couple seasons. Then they grabbed Ted Karras from the Patriots, another offensive guard. They've already begun rebuilding their offensive line. Big losses, I wouldn't consider them really, really big. They lost Riley Reef, who was an offensive tackle, who didn't play that well, actually, especially in the Super Bowl. He was one of those guys that got beat to shreds by the Rams in the second half of the Super Bowl. C.J. Uzomah is a nice tight end. Trey Waynes is a nice cornerback. Not too bad in the loss department. Their draft was pretty good. Their first round pick was a safety, Daxton Hill, out of Michigan. Nice player. Don't know a lot about Cam Taylor-Britt. And they got a D tackle from Florida, Zachary Carter. I did watch a couple of Florida games because I like the ACC as well as the SEC. Florida had a pretty good defense, so I'm going to give Zachary Carter the thumbs up at D tackle to end up being a decent player.
All right, so that completes the roster resets for the Cincinnati Bengals.